Hello students. In the previous video, we had learned the introduction part of the lesson diversity in living organisms. If you remember, we had learned about the 5 kingdom classification of Robert Whittaker. That is kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Right? So today we'll be learning the characteristics of each kingdom in detail. Fine? So first kingdom comes kingdom Monera. These are the first organisms to originate on the earth. So their simplest body design they have. They are called the prokaryotes. Okay. So look at the picture here. This is a simple diagram of a simple monerin. It has a cell wall, it has a cell membrane, and you can see inside the cytoplasm there is no there's no nucleus. It's only a DNA which is scattered in the cytoplasm, and there is only one type of organelle, that is a ribosome. No other membrane bound organelles are present. Example of such organisms: bacteria. Okay, so the first characteristic, no nucleus, no membrane bound organelle, and they are unicellular organisms. Other examples are cyanobacteria. You know what is a speciality of cyanobacteria? They are photosynthetic in nature. You can see here in the picture of cyanobacteria, they have some photosynthetic pigments inside them, due to which they can photosynthesize. And these organisms, which originated first on the earth, they are responsible for the production of oxygen. Okay. Then you have other examples, that is the mycoplasma. Okay. So remember the examples of kingdom Monera: bacteria, cyanobacteria and mycoplasma. Mycoplasma are the smallest organisms. It's also called as PPLO. And one exception here is mycoplasma doesn't have a cell wall. All other monerans have a cell wall, but mycoplasma do not have a cell wall. Clear? Coming to the reproduction. In Monera, they have a very simple mode of reproduction, that is binary fission. Okay. Next comes kingdom Protista. That is, they are unicellular eukaryotes, if you remember. Okay. They have a nucleus and membrane bound organelles, but they are unicellular. So they are unicellular eukaryotes. See the examples here: paramecium, amoeba, euglena. Okay. And these are all called the protozoa. And if you observe this paramecium, it is having cilia around its body to swim in water, presence of cilia. And in case of euglena, they have a long whip-like structure which is called as flagella. So that is why we tell that they have cilia or flagella for movement. Clear? So amoeba, paramecium and euglena all come under protozoa. Other examples are diatoms. These are also unicellular, and they are very beautiful creatures which are found in the sea. They have calcium carbonate walls, very tough in nature. So even after the organism dies, the cell walls, they remain, and they just sediment down in the bottom of the ocean, and they form diatomaceous earth. This is of very high economic value, very beautiful, and it's of high economic value. Okay. Then other example is unicellular algae. Example, Chlamydomonas. You have Chara, etc. See, now Chlamydomonas is a unicellular algae. So when you hear about this word algae, you will be wondering why they are not placed under kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae have organisms which can photosynthesize but are multicellular in nature. Here it is unicellular algae. All the multicellular algae come under Plantae. Unicellular algae come under Protista. What about blue-green algae? The blue-green algae are coming under kingdom Monera. Fine. So look at the characteristics which are seen here. They have nucleus and membrane bound organelles and unicellular. They have cilia or flagella for movement. Some are autotrophic. Which are the examples of autotrophic protistans? Euglena. And some are heterotrophic. Okay. Reproduction, of course, the simplest mode, that is binary or multiple fission. Okay. Next is kingdom fungi. Kingdom fungi is the easiest one, you always remember the examples. mushroom, bread mold and yeast. So this is mushroom, bread mold and yeast. Okay. And if you observe here, one of the organisms is unicellular in nature. Say one exception is there. In kingdom fungi, if they are asking you that name an organism in kingdom fungi which is unicellular, that is yeast is the answer. All other organisms are multicellular. Okay. Eukaryotic, of course, they are multicellular except yeast, and cell wall is made up of chitin. Fungi has a cell wall which is made up of chitin, and the chlorophyll is not present. And now what about the nutrition? In kingdom fungi, there are different organisms with different nutrition. The mushroom is always found in dead decaying matter, mushroom, so they come under saprophytes. They are called saprophytic fungi. There are some fungi which can cause diseases, and so they are called parasitic fungi. And there are fungi which can form a relationship with algae, and that is called lichen, symbiotic relationship. And so they are the lichen. So if you talk about the nutrition of kingdom fungi, there are saprophytic fungi, parasitic fungi, and also fungi which is having symbiotic relationship. Okay. Now, we'll have to learn a little bit about detail in mushroom, because you have this for practicals. You'll be given the specimen of mushroom and you'll have to observe the parts of the mushroom and label the parts. So you can see the mushroom when it grows, it is like umbrella, just like an umbrella. But actually, the mushrooms, the parent body, the main body is under the soil. This root-like structure, okay, that is called mycelium. And later part of its life cycle, during the reproduction when it is ready for reproduction, then this upper part is visible. So this is the reproductive part of the mushroom. It has a stem like structure, and then you have this umbrella like structure is called as the cap. Okay. And under it you can see gills. This is called the gills in which spores are present. S-P-O-R-E, so spores are present. So these spores are actually, it is whenever the spores are mature enough, from the gills you can see the spores would be dispersed out in the wind. These spores, when it falls down anywhere, from there a new mycelium develop. You can see this picture here, the mushroom here. The spores are dispersed. Once it falls on a surface, it is developing mycelium. You can see it develops mycelium, and in its later part of its life cycle, the reproductive part comes up. Reproductive part, that is a umbrella like structure under which you have the gills. Under the gills, the spores are there, and the life cycle continues. So this is a life cycle of the mushroom. The parts of the mushroom has to be learned for the practicals also. Okay. So what is the mode of reproduction here? Spore formation. Same case in the case of bread mold, you see, you see how does it grow. Spores are present in the air. So when the spore gets it gets a favorable medium, like bread is a sugary medium, and if you get some moisture, the mycelium will develop. You can see here in the bread how it has developed the mycelium. And in the later part of its life cycle, from the mycelium, the reproductive parts have come up. It has a sporangium, and from the sporangium, the spores are dispersed. Can you see here? And you can see this picture how the reproductive organ is growing with sporangium. So once the spores gets dispersed, and if the spore gets a favorable condition for germination, then it will develop a new mycelium, and then bread mold will start growing. Clear? So this is how the spores will be dispersed. Okay. Then third one, yeast. It's a unicellular organism which is present under the kingdom fungi. Since it is unicellular, you can see its mode of reproduction is also very simple. It's called budding. A bud will arise and the nucleus will divide into two. One nucleus enters into the bud and one will remain in the parent body, and so two daughter cells of yeast is formed. And this budding is such a fast process that you may feel that it is a multicellular organism. Before one bud separates, other buds would be formed on it. So budding in yeast, it's a very fast process. Okay. So remember, if they are asking you type of reproduction in kingdom fungi, you need to say spore formation in bread mold and mushroom and budding in yeast. Okay. Coming to the fourth kingdom, that is kingdom Plantae. And we know the first characteristic we would be telling it is eukaryotic, of course. It is multicellular and it is having cell wall made up of cellulose. Remember the cell wall which is in kingdom fungi, it was made up of chitin. Here the cell wall is made up of cellulose. Chlorophyll is present and so it is can photosynthesize, and it is only because of this kingdom all other organisms are existing, because it's only plant kingdom Plantae can make their own food, making it available for the other organisms. So it is divided into 5 subdivisions. Kingdom Plantae is quite a big kingdom, so it is divided into 5 divisions based on its simplicity to complexity. Okay, so the most simple of the plants are called the thallophytes. Then comes the bryophytes, pteridophyte, gymnosperms and angiosperms. So you have 5 divisions. So the 5 subdivisions of kingdom Plantae: thallophyta, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperm. We will be learning about this in detail in the coming videos. Now comes the kingdom Animalia. Now in kingdom Animalia, you can see the characteristics would be, the common characteristics would be eukaryotic, multicellular. They do not have a cell wall. There is no plastic, cannot photosynthesize. So it is called heterotrophic nutrition. And I told you kingdom Animalia is the biggest kingdom. So it is subdivided into 10 phyla. Phyla is plural, phylum is singular. First is phylum Porifera, then phylum Coelenterata, phylum Platyhelminthes, phylum Nematoda, phylum Annelida, phylum Arthropoda, phylum Mollusca, phylum Echinodermata, phylum Protochordata, and phylum Chordata or Vertebrata, the biggest kingdom with 10 phylum. And the last phylum is subdivided into 5 classes. Okay. So this was the 5 kingdoms and the characteristics. Let us see whether you remember the examples. Let us see with the review. You will come to know whether you have understood the concepts or not. Name the kingdom to which the following organisms belong. So this is, you have to name the kingdom. So take a few minutes, write your answers and then check your answers. First one, organisms without nucleus, kingdom Manera. Which have cell wall but cannot photosynthesize, kingdom Fungi. Unicellular eukaryote, kingdom Protista. Organisms which have cell wall but can photosynthesize, of course it's kingdom Plantae. Multicellular eukaryotes, no cell walls, cannot photosynthesize, kingdom Animalia. Organisms having cilia or flagella for locomotion, what is it? Of course it is kingdom Protista. Okay. Then 2 differences between kingdom Fungi and kingdom Plantae. This is very often asked in the exam. The common thing between both of them have a cell wall. But what is the difference? Cell wall is made up of chitin, and here the cell wall, Plantae cell wall is made up of cellulose. Second difference, fungi are saprophytes and Plantae is of course autotrophs. These are the 2 major differences. So that's all for today, children. Keep learning. In the next video, we'll be learning kingdom Plantae in detail. Okay. Bye.